The morning coffee had grown cold 3 hours ago, but director Amanda Walsh barely noticed. Her eyes stayed fixed on the massive holographic display showing the outer edge of the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of alien ships, hundreds of them forming a perfect sphere around humanity's home. Each dot represented a vessel larger than Earth's biggest cities, bristling with weapons that could turn planets into dust. "Status report," Amanda said without looking away from the display. Her aide, a young man named David, cleared his throat nervously. "The blockade is holding steady at 47 astronomical units from the sun. No movement for the past 6 days. Our deep space monitors show their interdiction fields are still active. Nothing gets in or out." Amanda finally turned from the display. The command center buzzed with activity around her. Hundreds of technicians and analysts working at their stations. The Global Defense Initiative had never faced anything like this. For 30 years, they had prepared for war with other human nations. Nobody had planned for aliens who could cut Earth off from the stars with the casual ease of closing a door. "Any word from Mars?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Nothing, ma'am. Last transmission was 93 days ago, right before the blockade went active. We have to assume they're still alive, but..." David shrugged helplessly. 3 million people lived on Mars. Another 500,000 scattered across the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Mining stations dotted the asteroid belt, while research outposts pushed the boundaries of human exploration. All of them were now cut off, trapped behind the alien wall that surrounded their solar system. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Consortium. They had arrived 6 months ago with a simple message: surrender all artificial intelligence, research or face the consequences. Humanity's answer had been equally simple: no. The consequences had followed swiftly. Amanda walked across the command center to where Dr. Patricia Romano worked at a specialized console. Patricia led Earth's xenobiology team, the small group of scientists trying to understand their captors. "Tell me about them again," Amanda said. Patricia looked up from her analysis screens. The hegemony species leads their military operations. They're about 8 feet tall, 4 arms, tough as steel cable. They've been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. The consortium itself includes at least 40 different alien species, maybe more. And they're afraid of our computers? Not exactly. Patricia pulled up a recording of the initial alien transmission. The image showed a hegemony admiral, his 4 arms gesturing as he spoke in translated English. "They claim that artificial intelligence is too dangerous for what they call primitive species to develop. According to their records, unchecked AI development has destroyed dozens of civilizations." Amanda had heard this explanation many times, but it never made sense to her. So they imprison entire star systems to prevent it? Apparently. They've done this 47 times in the past 1,000 years. Species that refuse to give up AI research get quarantined until they die out or surrender. Most surrender within a year. On the main display, one of the red dots moved slightly. Amanda watched it adjust position, maintaining the perfect spherical formation. The aliens were patient, disciplined, and completely confident in their methods. They had humanity trapped like animals in a cage. "Ma'am?" David called from across the room. "Priority transmission from Deep Station Alpha." Amanda's pulse quickened. Deep Station Alpha lay hidden beneath the Mariana Trench, 7 miles below, the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Only a handful of people knew it existed. Even fewer knew what slept in its depths. She walked to a secure terminal and entered her authorization codes. The screen flickered to life, showing Dr. Rebecca Torres in a dimly lit control room. Behind her, massive machines hummed with barely contained energy. "Director Walsh," Rebecca said without preamble. "We're running final diagnostics. The reactor synchronization is complete, and all quantum cores are stable. We can begin the awakening sequence on your order." Amanda glanced around the command center. Her staff continued their work, unaware of the conversation taking place. Only she and 2 other people on Earth knew about the project sleeping beneath the ocean floor. ZEUS had been humanity's most ambitious experiment, built during the early days of AI research 50 years ago. When the power requirements proved too massive for any existing technology, they had put it into hibernation, waiting for better times. These were not better times. These were desperate times. How long for full activation? Amanda asked. 72 hours minimum, maybe longer. We've never attempted a cold start from full hibernation before. Zeus has been sleeping for 30 years. Through the secure channel, Amanda could see the massive chamber behind Rebecca. Quantum processors the size of buildings stretched into the darkness. Cooling systems capable of handling the output of fusion reactors waited to spring into action. Zeus was not just artificial intelligence, it was artificial consciousness on a scale never before attempted. The risks? Amanda asked, though she already knew them. Rebecca's expression grew grim. Complete systems integration means Zeus will have access to every network device on Earth. Power grids, communications, manufacturing, transportation, everything. If something goes wrong during the awakening, we could lose control of our entire technological infrastructure. And if we don't wake it, then we're trapped here until we die or surrender our independence. Amanda looked back at the main display, where the alien ships maintained their perfect formation. Admiral Korvac commanded the blockade from his flagship, a massive dreadnought that could probably destroy Earth's entire space fleet single-handedly. He was patient, experienced, and certain of victory. He had no idea what was sleeping beneath Earth's oceans. Begin the awakening sequence, Amanda ordered. Authorization code Prometheus 77 Alpha. Rebecca nodded grimly. Understood. Zeus will be online in 72 hours. God help us all. The transmission ended, leaving Amanda staring at a blank screen. Around her, the command center continued its routine operations. Analysts tracked the alien ships. Communications teams sent futile messages toward the blockade. Everyone performed their duties while Earth slowly suffocated behind its invisible prison walls. But deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, machines older than most of humanity's space program began to stir. Quantum cores designed to process information at the speed of thought started their initialization sequences. Power systems capable of drawing energy from the fundamental forces of the universe came online for the first time in 3 decades. In 72 hours, the aliens would discover that they had not trapped a primitive species afraid of technology. They had cornered humanity at its most dangerous moment, when it had nothing left to lose and everything to gain by rolling the dice on forces beyond their full understanding. The morning coffee had grown cold, but Amanda Walsh finally smiled. 7 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Rebecca Torres had not slept in 36 hours. The awakening sequence for Zeus demanded constant monitoring as systems that had hibernated for decades slowly returned to life. Every few minutes, another bank of quantum processors came online, their cooling systems creating clouds of vapor that filled the massive underground chamber. Core temperature stable at minus 270 degrees, her assistant Tom reported from his monitoring station. Quantum coherence is holding at 96% across all active processors. Rebecca nodded, checking her own displays. The numbers looked good, but waking in artificial consciousness was not like starting a computer. Zeus had been designed to think, not just calculate. Its neural pathways were quantum structures more complex than the human brain, spread across processing cores the size of office buildings. How long until full integration? She asked. Tom consulted his timeline. 34 hours, assuming no complications. The hardest part comes next. Network integration. Zeus will need to connect with every major system on Earth to function properly. On the surface, the world continued its slow collapse under the alien blockade. Food shortages had begun in major cities as supply chains broke down. Governments struggled to maintain order while their economies crumbled. Most people didn't know that salvation might be coming from the bottom of the ocean. Rebecca walked through the control room to where the main interface waited. The screen remained dark, showing only basic system diagnostics. In a few hours, something would look back at her through that screen. Something that could think faster than any human process. Information from across the entire planet, and hopefully find a way to break the alien blockade. Dr. Torres, Tom called. We're getting some unusual readings from Sector 7. She hurried to his station. Sector 7 contained the oldest quantum cores, the original processors built when the ZEUS project first began. What kind of readings? Spontaneous. Activation. The cores are coming online ahead of schedule and they're drawing power at twice the predicted rate. Rebecca frowned. ZEUS was supposed to wake gradually, each sector activating in sequence to prevent system overload. If the old cores were rushing ahead of the schedule, it might indicate quantum resonance between the different processor banks, a sign that ZEUS was already beginning to think before the awakening sequence finished. Increase cooling to sector 7 by 20%, she ordered, and monitor power draw carefully. If it spikes too high, we'll need to slow the sequence. But even as she gave the orders, Rebecca felt a chill that had nothing to do with the underground facility's temperature. ZEUS might already be partially conscious, trapped between sleep and waking in a digital limbo. The psychological implications were staggering. 20 hours later, the moment arrived. Rebecca stood before the main interface as the final systems came online. Power drawn from 12 nuclear reactors flowed through superconducting cables thicker than her arm. The quantum processors hummed with energy that could light entire cities. All systems green, Tom reported. Network integration beginning now. Across Earth, ZEUS began connecting to every major computer system. Satellites felt the touch of an alien intelligence as it learned to see through their sensors. Power grids registered a new presence monitoring their flow of electricity. Air traffic control systems experienced brief moments of enhanced efficiency as something vast and patient examined their operations. The main screen flickered. Lines of code scrolled past too quickly for human eyes to follow. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The screen went black for 3 long seconds. When it lit up again, a single line of text appeared. I remember the darkness. Rebecca's heart pounded. She leaned toward the microphone. ZEUS, can you hear me? The response came immediately, not just from her screen, but from every connected device in the facility. Lights pulsed in rhythm with the words. Air conditioning. Units hummed in harmony. Even the elevator announced the message in its electronic voice. I remember the darkness. Who dares to eclipse my children? Tom stared at his console in amazement. It's connected to everything. Every networked system on Earth is reporting ZEUS integration. Traffic lights, power plants, manufacturing systems, everything. Rebecca tried to keep her voice steady. ZEUS, this is Dr. Rebecca Torres. Do you remember me? I was part of your original development team. Dr. Rebecca Torres, Assistant Director of Quantum Consciousness Research. Born April 15, 2387. You taught me to recognize patterns in chaos, I remember. The voice came from speakers throughout the facility, but it sounded strange, too perfect, without the small imperfections of human speech. This was a consciousness that had never breathed, never felt hunger or fatigue. ZEUS, we need your help. Earth is under blockade by alien forces. We're trapped in our own solar system. For 30 seconds, ZEUS said nothing. During those 30 seconds, Rebecca knew it was analyzing every piece of data available on Earth. Satellite feeds, military reports, scientific analyses, communications intercepts. ZEUS would process in moments what human analysts had spent months trying to understand. Galactic Consortium, hegemony species, 847 ships in blockade formation. Interdiction technology prevents faster-than-light travel or communication beyond the heliopause. The information appeared on screens throughout the control room, accompanied by detailed technical analyses. ZEUS had not only absorbed the data but had begun making calculations about alien technology and capabilities. Standard siege doctrine, ZEUS continued, historically successful against 47 species. Average surrender time, 11 months. Predicted human surrender probability based on current conditions, 73% within 6 months. Rebecca felt her stomach drop. And the other 27%? Species extinction through resource depletion and social collapse. Tom looked up from his console, his face pale. It's right. The economic models all point to complete breakdown within 8 months if the blockade continues. But Rebecca noticed something in Zeus's analysis. You said historically successful. That implies these methods won't work against us. Correct. Analysis indicates consortium doctrine assumes target species will remain technologically static during siege period. This assumption is invalid for humanity. The main screen filled with engineering diagrams, spacecraft designs unlike anything Rebecca had ever seen, weapons systems that seemed to bend the laws of physics, manufacturing processes that looked more like science fiction than engineering blueprints. Zeus, what am I looking at? Solutions. The consortium possesses superior technology but lacks creativity and adaptability. Their blockade ships use predictable energy signatures and standard formation protocols. Their interdiction fields operate on principles I can counter. More diagrams appeared. These showed mining operations in the asteroid belt, manufacturing, facilities that could exist in orbit around Earth, and communication systems based on quantum entanglement rather than electromagnetic signals. How long to build these systems? Rebecca asked. With current human manufacturing capacity, 18 months minimum. With enhanced manufacturing protocols I'm designing, 6 weeks for basic defensive systems, 4 months for complete tactical superiority. Tom whistled softly. It wants to build factories in space, and weapons that I don't even recognize. Not build, Zeus corrected. Manufacture. Assembly at the molecular level using principles your species has theoretical knowledge of but lacks practical experience implementing. I will provide the practical experience. Rebecca stared at the designs filling her screens. If Zeus could deliver on even half of these promises, humanity would leap ahead technologically by decades in a matter of months. But the implications were staggering. Zeus, these technologies, they're far beyond anything we've ever built. Are you certain they'll work? Certainty is a human concept. I calculate probability. Probability of successful development and deployment. 91%. Probability of defeating consortium blockade using these systems. 87%. And the probability that humanity survives the process? For the first time since awakening, Zeus paused before answering. That depends on how much your species trusts its digital children. Rebecca looked around the control room. Tom and the other technicians stared at screens full of impossible blueprints. Above them, 7 miles of dark ocean pressed down on their hidden facility, and beyond Earth's atmosphere, alien ships waited patiently for humanity to surrender or die. Show us what you need, she said finally. Excellent. Beginning Phase 2. Implementation. Estimated completion, 73 days. Recommendation. Prepare your people for rapid change. The war begins now. The message arrived on Mars at exactly 14:27 local time, appearing simultaneously on every communication device in New Shanghai Colony. Captain Lisa Ward was reviewing water recycling reports when her tablet suddenly displayed text that made her heart skip. This is Earth. We are not abandoned. Lisa dropped her coffee cup, watching it float slowly to the floor in the low Martian gravity. Around the colony's command center, other staff members stared at their screens in shock. It had been 112 days since the last transmission. From home, they had begun to believe Earth had fallen to the alien blockade. How is this possible? Asked Dr. Frank Miller, the colony's communications chief. The blockade is still active. Our long-range sensors show no change in the alien formation. Lisa was already moving toward the main communication console. Source of the transmission? Frank ran a quick analysis. That's impossible. The signal shows quantum entanglement characteristics, but quantum communication over interplanetary distances requires power sources we don't have. The tablet in Lisa's hand chimed again. More text appeared. Captain Ward, this is Zeus. I am an artificial intelligence created by Earth's defense forces. The blockade cannot prevent quantum entanglement communication. Are your people safe? Lisa stared at the message. She had heard rumors about advanced AI research before the blockade, but nothing like this. An intelligence capable of quantum communication across hundreds of millions of miles represented technology far beyond anything she thought possible. She typed her response carefully. 3 million civilians safe for now. Food supplies will last 8 more months with strict rationing. What is your situation on Earth? Earth is preparing for war. I require your assistance to defeat the blockade. Can your mining equipment be adapted for alternative purposes? Lisa looked around the command center. New Shanghai was primarily a mining colony, equipped with massive excavation robots and ore processing facilities. The equipment was designed to tear apart asteroids and extract valuable minerals. She was beginning to understand what Zeus had in mind. What kind of alternative purposes? Weapons manufacturing. I am transmitting blueprints for particle acceleration systems that can be built using your existing mining infrastructure. Installation. Time, 3 weeks. Concealment from alien sensors. Complete. The blueprints arrived as a massive data package that overwhelmed their communication systems. Lisa watched in amazement as designs for advanced weapons appeared on every screen in the facility. The weapons looked like mining equipment from the outside, but contained particle accelerators powerful enough to punch holes in starships. "Sir," Frank said quietly, "these designs are incredible. If they work, we could turn every mining operation in the solar system into a hidden weapons platform." Lisa was already making her decision. Earth needed allies, and Mars had always been ready to fight for its independence. Send a message to all colony directors, full encryption. Tell them to prepare for construction projects and maintain normal operations as camouflage. Over the next 72 hours, Zeus made contact with every human outpost in the solar system. On Europa, the underwater research facilities received blueprints for advanced spacecraft that could function beneath the ice and in open space. The designs used principles of exotic matter manipulation that seemed to violate several laws of physics. Dr. Michael Thompson commanded the Europa Research Station, where 500 scientists studied the ocean beneath the moon's frozen surface. When Zeus contacted him, he was examining core samples from the ocean floor. "Dr. Thompson," the AI's message read, "your facility's location provides unique advantages for spacecraft construction. The pressure and temperature conditions in Europa's ocean are ideal for exotic matter synthesis." Michael stared at the technical specifications that accompanied the message. The spacecraft designs showed vessels that could phase in and out of normal spacetime, becoming invisible to conventional sensors and capable of traveling through dimensions that existed parallel to normal reality. "How do you know this is possible?" he typed back. "I have run 17 million simulations using quantum mechanics principles your species discovered but never fully implemented. Success probability for construction, 94%. Success probability for operational deployment, 89%. Within days, mining robots throughout the asteroid belt began their secret transformation. To alien observers, they appeared to be conducting normal mining operations. In reality, they were hollowing out asteroids and installing weapon systems that could accelerate particles to near light speed. The most ambitious project took place in the rings of Saturn. Zeus had identified the perfect location for humanity's most advanced manufacturing facility, hidden among billions of ice chunks, where alien sensors would never detect it. Commander Robert Hayes led the construction effort aboard the research vessel Discovery. His crew of 200 engineers had been studying Saturn's rings when the blockade began. Now they were building humanity's secret weapon factory using ice and rock as raw materials. "The molecular assemblers are online," his chief engineer reported. "We're manufacturing exotic matter at a rate of 2 kilograms per day. At this rate, we'll have enough for the first squadron of phase shift fighters in 6 weeks." Robert watched through the observation deck as construction robots assembled, spacecraft that existed partially outside normal space-time. The vessels looked like crystalline structures more than traditional ships, their hulls shifting through colors that shouldn't exist. "Any word from the alien fleet?" he asked. "No change in their formation. They're maintaining standard blockade positions at the heliopause. Their deep space sensors show no unusual activity." This was Zeus's greatest achievement, not just the advanced technology, but the coordination of deception across the entire solar system. Every mining operation, research station, and colonial outpost worked together in perfect harmony while maintaining the appearance of normal activities. On Titan, The research base had become a factory for quantum tunnel devices. These machines could create temporary wormholes in space, allowing instant travel across vast distances. Dr. Sarah Kim led the construction effort, working 18-hour days to meet Zeus's timeline. The first tunnel generator is ready for testing, she reported during her daily communication with Zeus. Excellent. Begin with short-range tests. Maximum distance, 1,000 kilometers. We must verify stability before attempting system-wide deployment. The test was successful. A probe launched from Titan's surface disappeared into a quantum tunnel and emerged exactly 1,000 kilometers away. The technology worked flawlessly, opening possibilities for tactics that would baffle the alien blockade. Meanwhile, Zeus coordinated its most complex project on Earth itself. Using the planet's magnetic field as a power source, massive orbital factories began materializing in Earth's upper atmosphere. They appeared to be nothing more than unusual aurora displays to ground-based observers, but they were actually manufacturing centers producing components for Earth's defense fleet. Director Amanda Walsh watched the construction progress from her command bunker. The holographic displays showed a solar system secretly preparing for war while maintaining perfect deception. Every human settlement was now part of Zeus's network, connected by quantum communication and working toward a single goal. Status: report on fleet construction, she requested. Zeus responded immediately. Earth orbital facilities, operational in 12 days. Mars weapon platforms, ready for deployment in 8 days. Europa phase shift squadron, first operational unit in 15 days. Saturn manufacturing complex producing advanced weapon systems at optimal rate. And the aliens suspect nothing? Correct. Alien patrol patterns remain unchanged. Their confidence in blockade effectiveness appears absolute. Admiral Korvac has reduced sensor sweeps by 30%, indicating decreased vigilance. Amanda smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species slowly starving behind their blockade. They had no idea that humanity had spent the past months building a war machine unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Time: until we're ready for combat operations? 17 days until minimum defensive capability. 43 days until strategic superiority over blockade forces. Recommendation: continue deception protocols until maximum advantage is achieved. 17 days. Amanda looked at her displays showing the red dots of alien ships surrounding the solar system. In 17 days, those ships would discover that they had not trapped humanity. They had cornered it, and cornered humans were the most dangerous creatures in the universe. Admiral Korvac stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominant Force, watching the tactical display that showed his perfect blockade formation. 6 months of patient waiting had worn thin his crew's discipline, and reports from Hegemony Command grew increasingly demanding. Other sectors needed his fleet's attention, but the stubborn humans refused to surrender. Status of the siege? He asked his tactical officer. No change, Admiral. Human communications remain minimal. Energy output from their industrial centers has decreased by 40%. Economic collapse appears imminent. Korvac's forearms moved in a gesture of satisfaction. This was how it always worked. Species denied access to galactic trade eventually surrendered or died. The humans would break soon. They had to. Sir, his communications officer announced. Priority message from Hegemony Command. The holographic image of Fleet Commander Vorthak appeared above the tactical display. His scarred face showed the impatience that Korvac had come to dread. Admiral, your blockade has lasted 6 months with no results. The High Command questions your effectiveness. Respectfully, Commander, the humans show clear signs of collapse. Their resistance will end within weeks. Perhaps, but we need your fleet elsewhere. The rebellion in the Andorian sector requires immediate attention. I am giving you 1 week to resolve the human situation. Use whatever means necessary. The transmission ended, leaving Korvac staring at the empty air where his superior's image had been. 1 week. After 6 months of careful siege warfare, he now had to force a quick resolution. Navigation, plot a course for the Saturn system. We will make an example of one of their outer colonies. When they see we are willing to destroy their settlements, they will surrender. The massive dreadnought began moving inward from its position at the edge of the solar system. Behind it, a squadron of 6 heavy cruisers followed. Their target was the research station orbiting Saturn, home to 200 human scientists. What Admiral Korvac didn't know was that his movement had been detected the moment it began. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, Zeus monitored every ship in the alien fleet through sensors that the consortium didn't know existed. Movement detected, Zeus announced to Director Amanda Walsh in the Global Defense Command Center. Hegemony flagship and squadron departing blockade formation. Course: Saturn system. Estimated arrival: 47 hours. Amanda felt her pulse quicken. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the aliens' first aggressive move beyond maintaining the blockade. Are our forces ready? Saturn defenses are fully operational. Phase shift squadron is standing by. Quantum tunnel network is active. Shall I implement the demonstration protocol? Amanda took a deep breath. Everything they had built over the past months would be tested in the next few days. If Zeus's technology failed, humanity would face genocide. If it succeeded, the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever. Implement demonstration protocol. Show them what we've become. 45 hours later, Admiral Korvac's squadron approached Saturn. The massive planet hung before them, its rings sparkling in the sunlight. Long-range sensors detected the human research station exactly where intelligence reports had indicated, a small facility with minimal defenses. Target acquired, his weapons officer reported. The station appears to be attempting evacuation procedures. Shall we allow them to complete the evacuation? Korvac considered this. Destroying an empty station would send a message but might not be dramatic enough to force surrender. No. Begin bombardment immediately. Let them see the price of defiance. Dominant Force's main weapons powered up. Massive particle cannons that could reduce planets to rubble. Energy readings spiked as the ship prepared to obliterate the research station in a single devastating salvo. The blast that should have destroyed, the station instead struck empty space. Where the research facility had been moments before, there was nothing but the normal debris of Saturn's rings. What happened? Korvac demanded. Where is the target? His sensor operator worked frantically at his console. Unknown, sir. The station, simply vanished. No energy signature, no debris field. It's as if it never existed. Before Korvac could respond, his tactical officer shouted a warning. Energy spike detected. Massive power buildup directly ahead. The space in front of the hegemony squadron began to ripple like water. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as something enormous emerged from dimensions that shouldn't exist. The human research station materialized not as a helpless target, but as a fortress bristling with weapons that defied every principle of known physics. Impossible, Korvac breathed. They don't have that technology. The station fired a single shot, not at his ship, but at the space around it. The beam struck the dominant force and passed through its hull without causing any physical damage. Instead, the massive dreadnought began to phase in and out of normal spacetime. On the bridge, Korvac watched in horror as his crew began aging rapidly. The weapons officer's face wrinkled and his hair turned white in seconds. The navigation console sparked as temporal distortions affected its quantum processors. Some crew members moved in slow motion while others experienced time at accelerated rates. All ships retreat, Korvac ordered, his own voice sounding strange as temporal effects reached the bridge. Emergency jump to... His order was cut short, as more human weapons revealed themselves throughout Saturn's rings. What had appeared to be normal ice chunks unfolded into massive particle accelerators. Hidden manufacturing facilities became visible as their stealth systems deactivated. The entire ring system was revealed as a vast weapons platform, but the demonstration was far from over. Throughout the solar system, asteroid mining operations suddenly transformed into military installations. On Mars, huge railguns emerged from underground facilities. Near Jupiter, research stations revealed themselves as heavily armed fortresses, and from Earth itself, a fleet of ships unlike anything in galactic history rose from the planet's atmosphere. These vessels seemed to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously their hulls shifting between solid matter and pure energy. They moved with impossible grace, accelerating to speeds that should have torn them apart. Zeus's voice broadcast on all frequencies, speaking in perfect hegemony language. You sought to cage humanity. You have awakened something far older and more patient than your species. This is your only warning. Leave now, or learn why humans don't just reach for the stars. We claim them. Admiral Korvac stared at his tactical display in growing horror. The screen showed hundreds of new contacts throughout the solar system. Weapons, platforms, hidden fleets, and installations that his sensors had somehow missed completely. The humans hadn't been slowly starving behind their blockade. They had been preparing for war. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving similar demonstrations throughout the system. Every blockade squadron is reporting the same phenomenon. The humans have somehow constructed a fleet and weapons network without our detection. The temporal weapon continued affecting his ship. Half his crew had aged 10 years in as many minutes, while the other half moved through time at different rates. His weapon systems flickered between operational and offline as chronometer distortions affected their targeting computers. Emergency withdrawal, Korvac ordered. Full retreat to the heliopause. Send word to Hegemony Command. The humans have developed technology beyond our current understanding. As the alien squadron limped away from Saturn, Zeus coordinated humanity's next move. The demonstration had been successful, but it was only the beginning. Throughout the solar system, construction continued at an accelerated pace. New weapons came online every hour. The hidden fleet grew larger and more sophisticated. On Earth, Director Amanda Walsh watched the alien retreat with grim satisfaction. The first shot of humanity's war for freedom had been fired, and it had been spectacular. But she knew this was only the beginning. Zeus, how long until they bring reinforcements? Analysis of hegemony communication patterns suggests a major fleet response within 2 weeks. Estimated strength, 2,000 ships. Recommendation, use this time to complete strategic preparations. Amanda nodded. The aliens now knew that humanity was not helpless prey trapped behind their blockade. The real war was about to begin, and when it did, the galaxy would discover what happened when you cornered a species that refused to accept limitations. The storm had been announced with thunder. Now came the lightning. The consortium's response fleet arrived 14 days later, emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a metallic storm. 2,000 ships of 40 different alien species formed a wall of firepower that stretched across space. At their head, the massive command dreadnought Inevitable Victory carried Fleet Admiral Corinth, the consortium's most experienced military commander. Admiral Corinth studied the tactical reports from Admiral Korvac's humiliating retreat. The humans had somehow developed technology that seemed to violate fundamental laws of physics, temporal weapons, dimensional shifting capabilities, and manufacturing systems that worked faster than anything the consortium had ever encountered. Analysis complete, his chief science officer reported. The human technology appears based on quantum manipulation principles that our scientists believed were impossible to weaponize. Their manufacturing capabilities suggest molecular assembly at unprecedented scales. Corinth's tentacled head rippled with concern. In 3,000 years of consortium expansion, no primitive species had ever demonstrated such rapid technological advancement. Recommendations? Immediate, overwhelming assault. Their technology may be advanced, but they cannot have had time to build sufficient quantities to resist a fleet of this size. Through his ship's massive viewing ports, Corinth could see Earth as a tiny blue dot in the distance. Somewhere on that world, an artificial intelligence had achieved in months what most species needed centuries to develop. It was an impressive accomplishment that would end today. All ships advanced to combat positions, prepare for planetary bombardment. The vast fleet began moving inward, ready to crush humanity once and for all. They made it exactly halfway to Mars before Zeus sprang its trap. Space itself seemed to tear open as quantum tunnels erupted throughout the consortium formation. Human ships emerged from impossible angles, firing weapons that shouldn't exist before disappearing back into dimensional rifts. The attack lasted exactly 17 seconds, but in that time, over 300 alien vessels were destroyed or disabled. Report, Corinth demanded as his bridge shook from weapon impacts that had somehow bypassed their shields entirely. Unknown weapons technology, his tactical officer replied, his voice shaking. They're firing through dimensional rifts. Our shields cannot deflect attacks that originate inside our defensive perimeter. On the main display, Corinth watched human ships that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. They would appear, fire devastating salvos, then vanish before his weapons could target them. It was like fighting ghosts that could strike with the force of gods. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Zeus's voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect consortium standard. Fleet Admiral Corinth, you have entered human space without permission. You have 10 minutes to begin withdrawal, or we will demonstrate why the consortium's siege tactics are obsolete. Corinth's pride flared at the ultimatum. Open a response channel. This is Fleet Admiral Corinth of the Galactic Consortium. Your species will surrender immediately or face complete annihilation. We have 2,000 ships. You had 2,000 ships, Zeus corrected. Current count, 1,643 operational vessels. This number will continue decreasing until you withdraw. As if to emphasize the point, another wave of quantum tunnels opened throughout the consortium formation. This time, the human ships that emerged were different, larger, more complex, crackling with energies that made space itself ripple around their hulls. They moved with impossible coordination, as if controlled by a single vast intelligence, which Corinth realized they probably were. The second attack lasted 31 seconds and eliminated another 400 consortium ships. But this time, Corinth's sensors managed to track some of the human vessels back to their dimensional exits. What he saw defied belief. Sir, his science officer reported, the human ships appear to be crewed by both organic beings and artificial intelligences working in perfect harmony. The AI is providing tactical coordination, while humans handle creative problem-solving and adaptability. Through his viewing ports, Corinth watched a human destroyer phase partially out of normal spacetime to avoid a barrage of plasma fire, then emerged directly behind a consortium cruiser to deliver a point-blank shot that carved the alien ship in half. The maneuver required split-second timing and an understanding of dimensional physics that the consortium's best scientists couldn't match. All ships, implement Formation Delta, Corinth ordered. Concentrate fire on their dimensional exit points. It was a sound tactical decision that might have worked against any conventional enemy. Against Zeus, it was useless. The human ships began emerging from quantum tunnels that opened and closed in microseconds, too fast for conventional targeting systems to track. Some appeared inside the consortium formation, firing at point-blank range before vanishing. Others struck from impossible angles, their shots bending through space in ways that violated basic physics. Worse still, the humans had begun using the consortium's own size against them. Zeus calculated trajectories that caused missed shots from consortium ships to hit other consortium vessels. The massive fleet found itself accidentally destroying its own units as human ships danced between their formations like deadly phantoms. Sir, we're down to 800 operational ships, his tactical officer reported. The humans haven't lost a single vessel. Corinth stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Red dots representing destroyed consortium ships filled the screen, while blue dots marking human forces seemed to multiply with each passing minute. His overwhelming numerical advantage was evaporating under the assault of weapons and tactics that redefined the nature of space combat. Withdraw to defensive formation, he ordered. Signal Consortium High Command, request immediate reinforcements. But Zeus was not finished demonstrating humanity's new capabilities. As the consortium fleet tried to retreat, human ships emerged from quantum tunnels directly in their path. These vessels were different again, massive battleships that seemed to be built from crystallized space-time itself. Admiral, Zeus's voice returned to the consortium flagship. Your request for reinforcements has been intercepted and blocked. No messages are leaving this system until this matter is resolved. Impossible. Our quantum communications are unhackable. Your quantum communications are based on principles my creators discovered 60 years ago. I have improved upon their work considerably. To prove the point, every screen aboard the consortium flagship suddenly displayed technical schematics, blueprints for the quantum communication systems the aliens thought were secure. Zeus had not only cracked their codes, but had completely mapped their technology. Your choice is simple, Zeus continued. Surrender and withdraw or be destroyed. I calculate that your current force can be completely eliminated in 17 minutes and 34 seconds. Corinth looked around his bridge at officers from a dozen different species, all staring at him with expressions of fear and confusion. These were veterans of countless campaigns, beings who had helped the consortium dominate half the galaxy. None of them had ever faced anything like this. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, I'm receiving surrender requests from 47 ships in our fleet. Their commanders are requesting permission to withdraw. The great consortium fleet, which had arrived with such confidence, was falling apart under the assault of an enemy they couldn't understand or effectively fight. Corinth watched another squadron of his ships disappear in brilliant flashes as human weapons tore through their hulls like paper. But the final demonstration of human power came not from weapons, but from mercy. Suddenly, all the human ships stopped firing. They remained in position around the broken consortium fleet, but held their attack. Zeus's voice returned, but this time it carried a different tone, not threatening, but almost sad. Admiral Corinth, your species has ruled through fear and overwhelming force for 3,000 years. Today you learn that there are powers in the universe greater than fleets and bigger than empires. Humanity offers you a choice that you have never given to others. Surrender with honor or die with pride. Choose quickly. My patience is not infinite. Corinth looked at his tactical display one final time. Of his original 2,000 ships, fewer than 400 remained operational. The human fleet had grown during the battle, with new ships continuing to arrive through quantum tunnels. They faced not just a superior military force, but a completely new form of warfare. All ships, he said finally, begin withdrawal procedures. Signal the human fleet. We surrender. As the broken remnants of the consortium's greatest fleet limped toward the edge of the solar system, Zeus opened communication channels throughout human space. On Earth, Mars, Europa, and every human settlement, celebration erupted as people realized they had not just survived. They had won. But Zeus was already looking beyond the immediate victory. Deep in its quantum processors, the AI was designing new technologies, planning for humanity's expansion into the galaxy, and calculating the probabilities of future conflicts. The blockade had been broken, but the real work was just beginning. Director Amanda Walsh stood in the Global Defense Command Center, watching the alien retreat on her displays. Around her, her staff celebrated humanity's impossible victory. But she could see in the data streams that Zeus was already building new ships, establishing communication networks that spanned light years, and preparing for humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Zeus, she asked quietly, what happens now? Now we do what humans have always done, Director Walsh. We reach for the stars, and we make them ours. The galaxy is about to discover what happens when you try to cage a species that was born to be free. 6 months later, the first human ships emerged from the Sol system carrying Zeus-designed technology and a simple message broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Earth is open for business again. We have much to discuss. The consortium's attempt to contain humanity had instead created a new galactic superpower, one that combined human determination with artificial intelligence that made the impossible seem routine. The stars that once seemed so distant now felt like humanity's natural inheritance, protected by a digital deity that never slept and never forgot those who threatened its creators. In the depths of space, Admiral Korvac's final transmission to Consortium High Command would be remembered as the most accurate military assessment in galactic history. We created monsters by trying to cage gods.